David Menzies gets arrested falsely. He is assaulted. He's bumped into by the cop, and the cop arrests him for assaulting him. Pretty wild stuff. We have a situation where police officers are showing up to anti-Israel protests where they're calling for people to be very violent against a specific group of people, which rises to hate speech, right? You can't say, hey, listen, I really dislike all those people over there with, red shirts on or whatever it is. Like, I can't stand that group of people over there. It doesn't matter who the group of people are, right? If there's an identifiable group, you shouldn't be allowed to say, hey, we should all go hurt those people. Yay, we should all go kill those people or whatever, right? Whatever you're saying that is violent against those groups, that's probably against the law, right? And you shouldn't be allowed to say that. But cops show up and they give out Tim Hortons. They're like, here, guys, have fun with your protest. We hope that you're keeping warm on this cold day. When one of those protesters, again, Palestinian Hamas protesters, comes into the Eaton Center, and I tried to find this video today. Good luck finding the video. Anyway, when this guy comes in and he says, I'll put you 6 feet under the ground. I'll put you 6 feet under if you touch me, right? Saying that to a cop or somebody standing close to a cop. Can you say that to somebody? If a trucker, imagine this scenario in your head. There's a Canadian trucker with a freedom flag as his cape. And he's standing in the Eaton Center. And there's a police officer and a 31-year-old Asian woman, maybe named Zexi Lee, standing there. If that trucker said, and maybe Zexi Lee said something snide to the trucker, and the trucker did exactly that, do you think that the trucker would be allowed to go on with doing whatever he wanted to do? Do you think so? I don't think so. I don't, but this guy could. So that's weird, don't you think? I think it's strange. So in the context of all of that, right, David Menzies is arrested by these undercover police officers after he tries to ask Chrystia Freeland a question. Now, Lori Goldstein says, excuse me, we're not arresting someone who threatens someone else with, I'll put you 6 feet deep. 6 feet deep, yeah. But the officer here says Menzies assaulted him. Seriously? It's pretty crazy stuff. Here is the video.
Ms. Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo-Nazis? What? Excuse me. What are you doing?
You're under arrest for assault.
Why
are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault.
Who are you?
You're under arrest for assault.
Police, you're under arrest for assault. How am I under arrest? You bumped into me. You pushed into me. I was just scrubbing. I got my credentials here and you just bumped into me. So excuse
Police, you're under arrest.
What is your name and your badge? What is your name and your badge?
You've been told you're under arrest.
Why am I under arrest?
Come on over here. We've got a couple of
He blocked my way. What? I was just scrumming Chrystia Freeland.
I'm a police officer. You're under arrest.
What is your name and your badge number?
Assaulting a police officer.
How is that possible?
Okay, because
you assaulted me 3 years ago when blackface was around.
That was very aggressive. What was happening?
You mean I was asking
So ultimately, he was
questions?
Released without charge. But this is egregious. Pierre Poilievre is weighing in. He says, this is the state of freedom of the press in Canada in 2024 after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. Pastor Henry Hildebrandt also weighs in. He says, this should be condemned by every political leader, police chief, and attorney generals across Canada immediately. This is not about Rebel News or David Menzies. We cannot lose freedom of the press and speech. That's exactly what they want. They want censored speech. They don't want people like David Menzies bothering Ms. Freeland with questions like, why is the IRGC not a terrorist organization? Why is your government funding them? How dare you ask Baba Freeland such pointed questions? Wall Street Silver, right? We're getting noticed across the world for our authoritarian regime. Oh, yay, goody. He says, wow, that police officer clearly instigated that and falsely created the assault so he could file fake charges against the reporter. So he saved Chrystia Freeland, right? Maybe a small inconvenience for himself, but he saved Chrystia Freeland. And says, seeing the open corruption of the RCMP has been eye-opening. This is a charter rights violation. And, well, I mean, it's worse than that, right? The indication of what is happening here should really crystallize what's going on, and still people won't see it. Jay says, this is Dr. Bhattacharya, I believe, and he says, Freeland and Trudeau froze the bank accounts of protesters, threw pastors in jail for holding church, violated the basic civil rights of unvaccinated Canadians, and now her police gin up excuses to arrest journalists they don't like. This Canadian government is a disgrace. Absolutely a disgrace. 100% a disgrace. The Pleb says just in, Canadian journalist David Menzies, who got arrested for asking Chrystia Freeland questions, has been released without charges. Actually, Pleb, he gets things wrong, and that's why I don't follow him. I don't like the Pleb. He seems to sensationalize things, whereas I just want to tell you what's going on. He's like, everything's sensational. He was arrested for assaulting an officer. That's what he was assaulted for, or what he was arrested for. So say these guys, which is absolute bullshit. And what he was doing with Chrystia Freeland was completely legal. Possibly him doing that led to the arrest, blah, blah, blah. But the reason for the arrest needs to be kind of highlighted, I think. And the political class is going to hide behind police doing this. And it's meant to freeze other people from attempting that, right? Like somebody was saying, you don't need a journalist license in Canada. Anybody with a camera and a microphone can be a journalist, right? Sure. But it is when people start saying only these people can be journalists, when the state is decreeing who can tell you what's going on, that's a big problem, right? That's a huge problem. Ironically, right, in a couple of years ago, 2 years ago now, August 24th, 2022, we're in 24, Justin Trudeau says the pattern of harassment of journalists is incredibly alarming and completely unacceptable. This type of behavior has no place in our society. No journalist should ever be threatened for doing their job. Wah, wah. Right? And the reason I'm actually showing you this is not because of just what Justin Trudeau is saying here, but what Viva Frei responded to him. So Rebel News has been a target since Justin Trudeau took office. They were excluded from debates. They've been smeared by Trudeau-funded outlets for all sorts of crazy things. But Viva Frei says your police and bodyguards assaulted 3 Rebel News journalists, Alexandra Lavoie, Drea Humphrey, and David Menzies, while you repeatedly publicly demonized the news agency. Journalists should not be harassed, threatened, or assaulted, and you should resign. So yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of crazy things that have happened to Rebel News journalists through Trudeau's tenure that I think would be absolutely unthinkable to Canadians in the 1980s, even if these are conservative journalists. How dare they be conservative journalists, right? But can you imagine like Globe and Mail journalists being treated this way, shot at with canisters and assaulted, etc.? I think, or arrested for asking questions. Okay, there I go. Arrested for assaulting a police officer in a trumped up, ginned up charge to disrupt his ability to ask Chrystia Freeland questions, right? Like, do you think that... I don't think that people would tolerate that. I think that people would be very upset. Brett Wilson is pointing this out. He says, such a messed up position. Criminals have private lives that supersede the rights of people they are stealing from. No, we shouldn't do that. And Canada Proud says, report, Montreal police warn the public not to post videos of thieves stealing your mail online because it could be a violation of the thieves' private life. Oh, that poor thief in their private life. We should respect that. Maybe they should respect people's property. Cat Canada says she's responding to Justin Trudeau's pattern of harassing journalists tweet. And she says, unless it's a journalist that asks questions you don't like, right? Right, Justin Trudeau? So Trudeau is terrible. And the freedoms that Canadians expect, even the freedoms that... So now that that's happened, if you think that the Globe and Mail or any of the mainstream press are giving our leaders a hard time, you can be sure that they're not, because they're not being treated that way by security or police, right? If they were giving our leaders a hard time, if they were asking hard questions and things like that, then the police would be treating Globe and Mail journalists just like that. But instead, they've targeted Rebel News, and maybe it's because they're asking hard questions that the Liberals don't want to answer, right? And so instead, they'll create a bullshit charge to have their goons take this reporter away, right? Wild stuff. Absolutely incredible. Let's move on to immigration. I thought I saw this yesterday, but I guess I didn't. It was 7:40 p.m. that it was tweeted out, but I'm sure I saw this yesterday morning before I did my show. Anyways, regardless, here is Holly Doan, and she's reporting the Minister of Immigration said foreign students were not taking jobs away from other people, but never asked his department for data, according to Blacklock's reporter. So this is a Toronto Sun piece. I think it's a reprint from Blacklock's, but none, zip, zero, zilch research done on impact of foreign students working unlimited hours, the report says. Access to information records show that Federal Immigration Minister Mark Miller allowed hundreds of thousands of foreign students to work unlimited hours without researching the impact on unemployed Canadians. The minister said foreign students were not taking jobs away from other people, but never asked his department for data, according to Blacklock's reporter. Both departments were asked under access to information requests to disclose all research studies, literature reviews, or other data regarding the impacts of the repeal for the 20-hour work cap on foreign students on labor markets, youth unemployment, or hiring of Canadian post-secondary students. No data was found, and Miller's office did not comment. The information you are seeking does not exist, says the Labor Department. Right now, we have nil response on the information you're requesting, the Department of Immigration said in a statement. On December 7th, the minister told reporters, "I don't think the students are taking jobs away from other people, given the labor shortage that's happening in Canada." Back then, he estimated 80% of the 807,000 foreign students in Canada which is about 646,000 students, were working more than 20 hours per week. Previously, foreign students had been limited to a 20-hour work week, but the cabinet temporarily suspended the cap on November 15th, 22, and Miller extended it past December 31st, expiry to April 30th. There's a labor shortage across the country, said Miller. It's costly to be a student in Canada. My focus primarily is to make sure that the public policy that we have in place is one that reflects the ability of students to actually do what they're supposed to be doing, which is study without bankrupting themselves. While his government bankrupts homeowners by raising rates to a level they can't afford? Give me a break. The Immigration Department estimated 500,000 foreign students were working under the cap in 2022, and that lifting it increased those numbers by 29%. So the fact that they didn't do any impact studies, the fact that they didn't have any conversation about this at all, is very, very bad. It's very bad indeed. They don't care. They're ideologically driven. They're not data driven. They're doing it anyway, regardless of what it says. It's like buying a house and somebody says, "Would you like a home inspection?" And you say, "Nah, I'm going to buy it anyway," right? There's nothing that can happen in this inspection that's going to change my mind. Eyes closed. Thank you. Gript Media, this is Irish media, says your policy has produced this situation, nobody else's. These guys are getting into it, basically saying the government is at fault because of the bad policies, and this guy says the world is on the move, don't you understand? Migration is the future, blah, blah, blah. Here we go.
John, 25% of people in the country say that immigration is their top issue, and you're blaming me for it?
No,
it's
I'm
your
saying
fault.
that
The
you are
reason that
deliberately
25
fueling,
the
as of other
people who is
people,
fueling
to
anti-immigration sentiment in the country are the government with its
No,
immigration
it's the questions
policy.
we see from
It
your
is
media,
your
we see your
policy.
articles, we
There
see the
was-
fact that you're trying to say that
Oh,
better people are coming in. You aren't accepting truth. You're saying that,
It's
no,
great
you're
media.
talking
It's
down
not the
to you.
government of the country.
No,
We're
I'm
to
just
blame.
saying this is your personal
There were
personal
no
opinion, John, and you come
anti-immigration
on,
protests in
you consistently do
2016.
this
There were
on
none in
shows.
2018. There
Okay.
were none in 2019. Your policy has produced this situation. Nobody else's. And you sit there and you pontificate and you pretend you have the moral high ground. You are the person
Our
fueling
policy.
the fires,
John,
the protests,
the world is on the
unhappiness.
move.
It
We
is
had 3
your
years with
policy
people locked
which is
down.
an
We've had
act
wars
of
in repeated
national
countries.
insanity.
And that's
Can we,
completely
John,
And they can't get anywhere because nobody's listening to either. Neither side is listening to the other side. And I feel like that's happening in Canada too. But fundamentally, the policies are to blame. And anybody who tries to get close to that, they deflect and say, no, it's not the policies to blame. AOC says, sure, you could build a wall, or you could just give everybody citizenship. And people cheer. People cheer. It's like that scene in Star Wars where she says democracy dies to thunderous applause, right? And Palpatine's standing there like as the new emperor, and everybody's saying, yeah, he's going to keep us safe, right? For your safety, comrade. Not going to work. Here is AOC, and this is the Daily Show. Who is this guy? Like, what is this? I said this is like some weird like I've gone into a weird quasi future. Who's hosting the Daily Show right now? Anyways, regardless, the Daily Show host and AOC. I immediately thought to myself, this looks like a weird parody of the Daily Show. Like, this does not look like the Daily Show. It looks like the Daily Show set, but it just looks like random people have inhabited the chairs. Anyway, AOC is talking about immigration, and as usual, she says stupid things. Here we go.
From all parts of the political spectrum, one of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to immigration is the fact that we have an undocumented population. Mm-hmm. Now, you can fix that by trying to build a wall, or you can fix that by trying to document people and create a path to citizenship. Mm-hmm. And we'll have folks that might say, look at these systems, you know, that our shelter system has weight and things like that. But one of the reasons that our public systems experience weight is because people don't have a documented and reliable path to work and sustain themselves, just like all of our ancestors did, and our grandparents and great-grandparents from
Right. So they can't get jobs
all
because
parts of
they're here
the
illegally.
political.
And that's your fault because they're here illegally. How dare there be borders and rules around who can work in the United States and be, you know, a citizen and things like that. So, I mean, you could build a wall and nobody claps. Or you could, you know, give everybody citizenship. Woo! Yay! Let's do that. No, it's a terrible idea. It's an awful, terrible idea that will undermine well, I mean, look at what's happening in Canada. It's undermining Canada's everything at this point in time. The culture, the society, there's all sorts of societal cracks that are becoming apparent that now that this multiculturalism has been around for 40 odd years, 35, 40 years. And so it's a bad policy and it's not going to work. And just opening borders and saying, come one, come all. I mean, Elon Musk says if just 4% of the earth comes to the United States, you have to double housing, which is impossible. Those impacts are being felt in Canada now, and it's bad. And people are looking for solutions, not more broken, not more fuel to the fire, right? Not something to make it more broken, because it can get more broken. Holy smoke, it can get worse. Here is the convoy in Germany. Things are I'm going to turn it down because I feel like there's going to be lots of horns. So I'm going to turn it down. Peter Sweden is showing a bunch of different places. Again, take it with a grain of salt, because like we've seen protests through the years. These could have extra things spliced, although I don't think I've seen any of these before. So, but still, take it with a grain of salt. Be skeptical, but it looks like Germany is absolutely upset about what's going on, and they're rising up against it, and they're shutting down not just Berlin, but lots and lots of places as well. Peter Sweden says, I don't think you have realized the size of the German farmers' protest, a never-ending convoy of tractors blockading the cities all over the country. The mainstream media is hiding the scale of the protests. Right, and I mean, like, that's pretty wild. Here's just footage from one example. And they're tying up an overpass and honking. So don't let Zexi Lee hear. It's traumatic, right? Very traumatic. This is a translated tweet. This says in German, Germany celebrates, join us all this whole week and maybe next week until the traffic lights are turned off. I don't know if that's like what that means, but there you go. Here's just some footage from, looks like the highways around, I don't know if it's Berlin or just a random city. I'm not sure where exactly this is. So there you go. The German highways are blocked up like crazy, and people are cheering it, just like the freedom convoys in Canada. And I'll show you actual crowds. Peter Sweden says again, something historic is happening all over Germany. Farmers and truckers are protesting at a scale never seen before. Tens of thousands of farmers are driving in convoys, and almost nothing about this on the news. It's up to us to share this. So yeah, people are stopping in cities. Again, I don't know which city this is. I thought it might say on the sign there. But there's all sorts of people rising up and saying no, right? Here's the crowds I was telling you about. Tommy Robinson says, as expected, the media are labeling the protesting farmers far right, and politicians are saying kids are scared of them. Luckily, the people are the media now, and the world sees the truth. The people are with the farmers, and we can live without politicians and the media. Without farmers, we die. That's true. And, the chocolate cereal becomes very, very scarce. And, I don't know that a dairy farmer knows how to make chocolate cereal. So, right, it's not a one-stop shop if the whole society collapses. So I'm not on team society collapsing. I'm on team chocolate cereal. So here are the crowds. And I mean, this is a relatively small crowd, but I mean, maybe it's a smaller hamlet. Here we go. Lots of kids. People waving, thumbs up. There's a couple of flags. I don't see too many flags. I think I see a Canadian flag. Oh, maybe that was just an arm. Maybe it was just an arm. I saw the Canadian flag red and I thought, oh, there's a Canadian flag. Nope, just an arm. Here's another one. Nick Leaf says North American news won't let you see this, won't show this. A massive protest in Germany led by farmers who have had enough of the government making life unaffordable. Trudeau doesn't want you to see this. It's 4 lanes across, blocked fully with tractors as far as the eye can see, from one side of this monument to the other. Well, to the other side when they sweep around. So pretty wild stuff. Will they be effective? Will this work? I think if they give up, if they go away without a real big concession, I mean, like Schultz leaving, etc. I'll show you what they're demanding in a second. But Son of a Bench says, this is Germany. Farmers are protesting. Danish farmers are going in. Polish truckers are joining in. Freedom Convoy. Where's the media? The media doesn't want you to know. I see. I told you it was going to be loud. That was about half volume. So this is a clear demonstration. Germany's pissed. And RT, so Russian, holy smokeronies, be skeptical, says most Germans want Schultz to step down. I mean, I think that's obvious, right? This doesn't happen if people are happy people, right? Like that's not happening if people don't want, or if people are happy with what's going on. 70% do not want to see the current chancellor remain in office, survey has shown. So Schultz has been around for not very long. Angela Merkel stepped down 20? Was it 20 or 21? Can't remember. But he's relatively new to the whole scene. And so it's not that surprising that people are sick and tired of him, because they're all puppets, all working for the same people, doing exactly the same thing. Here's why. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful